Bletchley is suing B&Q for unfair dismissal. Are you too old for the workplace if you're over 70? Where's the worst place in the 3 counties for disabled access? Well, we find out why one government building in Luton is causing people all kinds of problems. And there are flood warnings in place in parts of Buckinghamshire and Bedfordshire. What have you been doing to prepare? You can get in touch via email, 3cr@bbc.co.uk. You can text us, 81333, starting your text 3CR. Or, and let's be honest, this is the best way to do it, isn't it? You can give us a phone call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
And here's today's trivia question. What does B&Q stand for? Yeah, I know. I see, you don't know, do you? B&Q. It stands for something. I remember finding it out on a New Year's Eve when I was really, really drunk once for some reason. I came home and turned the radio on, and for some reason they were saying what B&Q stood for, and it stuck in my head 20 years later. Anyway, an 81-year-old woman from Bletchley is suing B&Q for unfair dismissal. Irene Mullinger had worked for the company for nearly 25 years and had wanted to carry on. However, when they wanted her to work flexible hours, she said it disrupted her social life. Well, our reporter Jessica Cooper has been speaking to her.
I started working B&Q in May 1988, so I've been there for 24 years, and I just love working there.
But that recently came to an end in August. Why?
Because I've always worked for 67 years on fixed hours, and now I was asked to work flexible hours. And because of my social life, I need to know what I'm doing at certain times. And starting at 7 a.m. in the morning would have meant I'd have to get up at 4 a.m, which is much too early for me, or I could have been working up until 9 o'clock when the store opens. But I'll work in Saturdays and Sundays. But I just enjoyed working the mornings so that I could fit my life around it.
What was it that you enjoyed so much about working?
Just the companionship, all the colleagues and managers that I worked with, and the customers were always fine to work with. You know, it was the interaction of meeting people and being able to talk to them, which was lovely.
Would you have chosen to retire now? I mean, you are 81, an age where most people have retired. Would you have chosen to retire at this age?
No, I wanted to keep on for as long as possible because I enjoy working, I enjoy meeting people, and I don't want to sit at home and vegetate, because a lot of people, they just go, when they retire, they're lonely and don't know what to do with themselves. Because I live on my own, it's essential to keep mixing with people. And I do enjoy talking and listening and different things like that.
How much do you think your decision to not change your hours, and your employer, you say, didn't really give you much choice, either change your hours or you have to leave, do you think that was because of your age you were given that choice?
I'm not 100% sure, but obviously it's more difficult for an older person to adjust to working different hours. I mean, some people like getting up early in the morning and other people like working late. Me, I like getting up late and working early.
You like your lie-ins.
That's right.
Do you think there's a certain kind of cut-off point where older people should give up work? Is there an age that we should adhere to as, OK, you're 80 and that means you've got to stop?
I think if people are fit and energetic enough and they want to work, then fine. But of course, nowadays it's very hard to get different jobs because people work flexible time, so the part-time vacancies aren't quite so easy to become by. And I mean, youngsters are finding it hard now, especially those that go to university that want to fit in a part-time job to help supplement their income. It's getting harder and harder to, get those sort of jobs.
What will you do now then, Irene? Will you work or busy your time at home? What's next?
Well, I love gardening, I like decorating the house and working away, and I meet friends. I should be doing all sorts of things. And if I do happen to get bored, well, I can always go and work voluntarily. There must be things that I can, make myself useful.
So you've still not retired?
No.
Well, that was our reporter, Jessica Cooper. We have a statement from B&Q who say, as this is a block and quail, by the way, that's what it stands for, block and quail. As this is a legal case, we can't comment in detail. However, we can say this has nothing to do with age. B&Q has always valued the diversity of its workforce. Almost 30% of our 33,000 employees are over 50 years old, and our oldest employee is 89 years old. We do not consider the age of staff when organising rotas. We consider having people in the right place at the right time to serve our customers when they need us most. Well, 08459 455 555. Let me just put this to you. If you're 70 and over, could you be too old to work? You know, maybe you're a little bit slower, and people have to be a little bit more lenient with you. If you're 70 and over, are you too old for the workplace? Give the youngsters a chance. 08459 455 555. You can't go wrong with the Beach Boys and Good Vibrations. Come on. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots on the show this morning. 08459 455 555. Are you too old for the workplace if you're over 70? There might be some people who think, well, you know, you're 70 years old. You're a little bit slower, you've got to sit down a bit more. Perhaps it's time to call it a day and let some younger people have a go. 08459 455 555. Maybe you strongly disagree. Maybe you're in your 80s and you're working hard. And you're proud to be working hard, and you work harder and faster than some of the people younger than you. If that's the case, phone up and tell us. 08459 455 555. You can text as well. 81333, starting your text 3CR, or you can email 3cr@bbc.co.uk. Speaking of being over 70 and working, the Rolling Stones were playing, I believe, a pop concert last night. Have you seen the pictures of Mick Jagger with his little trilby hat and his weird kind of black and white? He looks awful, doesn't he? He looks awful. I think talk about people quitting when you're 70 and over. I think he's 69, something like that. He should kind of stop, don't you think? I've said this before and I'll say it again, I've never got the Stones. They had 3 good songs, Angie, Wild Horses, and Honky Tonk Woman. And that's it. The rest are terrible, aren't they? Awful band. I've never understood the fascination with the Rolling Stones. Morning! The 26th of November. Silly Christmas. No, I know. My little boy got two things from Father Christmas at the weekend. Catherine pointed me in the direction of this fantastic website where you type in your kid's name and what they like and things that they've been naughty and all of this stuff, and they get a personalised video from Father Christmas, and my little boy couldn't believe it. He said, Daddy, he knows my name. I said, oh, yes, he knows your name, of course. And there was a picture of my son. Oh, it was wonderful. So we had that. And then at the local garden centre, I never understand garden centres. They're very odd places. They sell more than just garden things. They're weird garden centres, aren't they? There was a thing where you could go and write a letter to Father Christmas and he'd write you a reply, and both my little boys got replies from Father Christmas. Fantastic. I love it. I love it. 08459 455 555. The government says it's looking at alternative sites to locate fitness for work assessments in Luton. It's emerged that the current building where they take place, this is brilliant, it doesn't have disabled access. Yeah. Across the country, around a quarter of the ATOS centres don't have proper access, and it's causing a backlog for people trying to get benefits. We sent our reporter, Victoria Cook, to the assessment centre on Alma Street in Luton to find out more.
I'm standing outside Cresta House. That's the name of the building where all these assessments take place. But they take place on the 6th floor of this building. So I'm hoping to go inside and to see for myself what issues people face when trying to get to the 6th floor. I've just left the building and seen for myself that the assessment centre is on the 6th floor. It's the very top floor of this building. And to get inside the building, there is a wheelchair ramp through the front door. And to get up to the 6th floor, you can take one of 2 lifts. They're quite small. They take about 8 people each. And, of course, there's a staircase as well. It looks like this building's being used by a number of different companies on each different floor. And it's the assessment centre, which is right at the top. But if you look on the website for Atos Healthcare in Luton before you arrive, it does warn that the assessment centre is on the 6th floor. The website actually says if you think that you would have difficulty going down the stairs in the event of an emergency or would need assistance from someone else, that you are to warn them in advance. It goes on to say that the assessment centre can be accessed by lift, but if an emergency evacuation of the building is required, such as a fire alarm, the lift cannot be used. And it finishes by saying there are 126 steps to the ground floor.
That's a reporter, Victoria Cook. Mick Scarlett is an access auditor and broadcaster. Morning, Mick.
Morning.
Access auditor. You work out if people can get in and out, do you?
Basically, what it is, I go to buildings or places and I work out the issues that might be presented in getting disabled people in making sure that disabled people can access the business, the service that they provide. And then I give them suggestions about how they might fix it. Normally I tend to form a relationship with the business that I'm working with to sort of hopefully end up with an accessible business at the end.
What are the main issues then, Mick?
Well, it's kind of twofold. You end up with one, which is kind of the physical stuff, like, getting into the building, like you've got in Cresta House, where... it's a very strange situation, I feel.
It's brilliant, isn't it? You couldn't make that up.
I mean, obviously they've kind of given it some thought because they've put, there's a ramp at the front to get in, but then there's been no thought of the emergency evacuation procedure. But then there's also the other side, which is things like making sure your information is accessible to people with visual impairments, with people, making sure that your staff understand how to deal with people that have got hearing impairments or might have learning disabilities. So it's quite a big sort of thing. It's not, a lot of people think that access is just kind of ramps and disabled toilets, but it's a lot bigger than that.
Well, ramps are the kind of the obvious, the first sort of the thing that you might... just going off on a slight tangent, because my mum's in a wheelchair and I take her around quite a bit. I thought that all places, all shops and restaurants and things had to have ramps now, but they don't, do they?
No, this is a big misunderstanding, shall I say. I would say miscomprehension. And that
you can say it. It's not a word, but you can say it.
It's too early in the morning for big words.
Tell me about it.
But it's your job, mate.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, basically, I think people think that, the law was made... I mean, it's nearly 20 years... I think it's just about 20 years since the Disability Discrimination Act came in. And that stated that, that businesses have to make sure that their goods and services are accessible to disabled people. But that law, which then became the Equality Act, has the word reasonable in it.
Yep.
Reasonable things done. You have to, or if it's not reasonable, it doesn't have to. And the problem is a lot of shops and businesses are small, and it's quite, they think it's going to be quite a large outlay of money, and so they kind of can get away with it. The other issue is that it's the only anti-discrimination legislation that is an act against the person and not against the state. So if you discriminate against me, I have to take you to court myself. So it means that all of the prosecutions around, discrimination against disabled people cost us money to do. So people are very nervous about doing it because if they lose, then they end up getting stung with the cost.
Mick, if a person with a disability is told that they can't be employed because of access or safety issues, what rights have they got to challenge that?
Well, they have to. They have to take it to court themselves.
Themselves, right? Yeah.
So it's not. It's a long, painful process. And, I mean, at the moment, there are lots of solicitors out there that will do it on a, no-win, no-fee basis because they're trying to make legal precedent. I have my own pet solicitor that I ring up whenever I face issues because, they're very keen. That's what they do. They want to make legal precedent so they can say, well, because at the moment all the law is being tested, even though it's 20 years later.
Yeah.
And so, if you do get discriminated against, it is worth looking into it because things won't change unless people understand that they have to.
What's this this scheme that you're involved with in Ampthill?
Well, basically what it is, in Ampthill, there's a Leonard Cheshire home, and all the residents there kind of feel a little bit excluded, because while Ampton is a very beautiful and lovely sort of historic village, some of the places, many of the buildings there are inaccessible.
Yeah.
So what they've decided to do is they've all got together and they've come up with this idea of getting a community ramp. So, like, in the middle of the village centre, there's going to be a ramp stored possibly in one of the shops, and then all the other businesses that need to use it can just go and pick it up if they need to get someone disabled into their premises.
Now, hang on a second. How convenient is that going to be? So if you're, like, in Boots and the ramp is over at W.H. Smith's, you've got to, phone down and say, can we have the ramp up here, please? Is that how it works?
Pretty much. I mean, the thing is, though, is that, I mean, what it is all these businesses are very, very small,
yes.
and also, it's an extra expense at a very difficult time, when financially. So what this group have done is they've said, well, what we'll do is we'll get the money to buy this ramp.
Yeah.
We'll store it. We'll get it stored, and it'll move round from different shops, so that it's not always in the same place. But then all you've got to do, your business, if they come up and they want to go for a coffee, then you just pop down and get the ramp and take it back, and put it up. They come in, then they have their coffee, then they leave, and then you put the ramp back. So it's kind of, I mean, it sounds, okay, if it's pouring with rain, it might be a bit of a pain. And it'll be equally as much of a pain for them, because they'll be stuck outside in the rain waiting for you to get the ramp. But it's better than just saying, sorry, mate, we haven't got any access. And it means that all the businesses fulfil their legal requirement of access at no cost to the business.
There you go, you see, you're ticking all the boxes.
And I think that it's something that's happening all over the country, is that groups of disabled people are getting together and saying, look, for far too long we've been told, it's too expensive, too difficult. So they're doing this, they're getting together and they're saying, right, let's get a community ramp that is available to the businesses, and it means that they can't say they haven't got access, because they have now.
They have got it now. Mick, we have to, we're out of time. Thank you very much, Mick Scarlett. Later on in the show, we'll be speaking to the MP for South West Bedfordshire, Andrew Sellis, and meeting someone who was turned away from the assessment clinic. We did approach the Department for Work and Pensions. They declined the invitation, but they've sent us a statement. Statements. Where an assessment centre isn't on the ground floor, as is the case with Luton, we endeavour to make this clear to people before they arrive for their appointment. We are looking at alternatives to the centre in Luton.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, 6:32. Coming up in the next half an hour. If you're 70 and over, maybe you should stand down and not work anymore. 08459 455 555. And an investigation by BBC Three Counties finds tens of thousands of people could struggle to keep warm this winter. Keep listening and find out why. I can't work out if I like this song or not. I think I do, but I'm not sure. I heard this at the weekend about 3 times. And normally with a song, I know I like it or I know I don't like it. It's simple. And this one I was going, I don't know. It sounds like it's from Aladdin, doesn't it? Yes. I think I'm going to err on the side of saying yes, I like it. But I'll wait until I get the results back from the laboratory before I go into much more detail. Now, BBC Three Counties has learnt there could be around 70,000 older people in beds, hearts and bucks in need of extra help to stay warm this winter. The government's giving councils here close to £1 million in total to help the elderly stay safe and well during the cold months. A new clothing bank has just been set up in Netherfield, one of the most deprived areas of Milton Keynes. Our reporter, Jessica Cooper, has been to see how it works and spoke to Parish Councillor Joyce Hall, who's behind the idea.
It's for the needy. One young lady, I said. I didn't know her. She was just wheeling a pushchair, a baby in the pushchair and a toddler at the side. I said, do you work? Yes, she said, I work part-time. But she said, my part-time money will not cover my bills. And she burst into tears. Older people, they're worried sick. What they're mostly saying is, we go to bed. Go to bed to keep warm to save the gas, because we all know it's going to be colder. We shouldn't have to live like that.
The things that you're most in need of here for people to donate are blankets and duvets.
Duvets, warm clothes,
I just see a couple of the clothes here, and I was thinking of my two girls, so, just to get them some winter stuff.
Hi, my name's Helen and I live in Healands. I saw a article in the local paper that said they were looking, there was a place down here that had opened, and they were looking for donations of buggies. And I had a buggy that I was looking to donate to a good cause, and I thought that this would be it. It's local, it helps out people in the community. I would like to start a toy collection just over the Christmas period, because I know there's a lot of parents who, like myself, have gone and looked in their children's toy cupboards and thought, wow, I've got so many toys, I'm going to need to get rid of a few before Christmas, before they get some new ones. And I hope to use this to start a toy collection so that people who can't afford to get their children as many toys as they possibly would like, because the fact that they're electric, their gas, their food, everything like that, can come down here and can get some toys donated that will be donated to them, or they can make a donation themselves and give their children a better Christmas.
Well, the clothing bank in Netherfield is open on Thursday mornings. In Bedfordshire alone, an estimated 14,000 people over the age of 65 are in fuel poverty. That's a third of over 65-year-olds in the county. Karen Perry is the Chief Executive of Age UK Bedfordshire. Morning, Karen.
Good morning.
What are the main concerns for older people this winter?
Well, as your previous report said, I think it's keeping warm, but also being able to afford to keep warm. They're the main things. Obviously, we all need to keep warm, but we all need to think about how we do that. And older people especially, there are a lot of older people out there in fuel poverty, and excess winter deaths do seem to be obviously it's more dangerous for older people to get cold. They don't feel that they're getting cold in the winter. It sort of creeps up on them, and then obviously we get into the realms of hypothermia, and then obviously excess winter deaths kick in. 27,000 people that are going to die this year through excess winter deaths across the country.
Karen, sorry, 27,000 older people are going to die because of the cold?
Well, most of them are older people. That's the statistics.
In this country?
In this country, yes. Yeah, and basically...
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's respiratory problems, strokes, heart attacks, all due to cold temperatures.
I'm shocked by that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
What are you doing to help, Karen?
Well, locally in Bedfordshire, all Age UKs are independent charities, but we're all part of a sort of federation, so we do similar things. But specifically Age UK Bedfordshire, we've signed up to the Met Office Cold Weather Alert Service. So every time the cold weather is going to come in a cold snap, we will be putting that information out through our home help workers, through our volunteers, and also advertising that in our office. Also, what people can do, having that warning, is to make sure that they take some precautions. There are some simple precautions that older people can take, and that's keep lots of layers on, wear gloves, wear a hat. The head is the place where most of your heat loss comes from. Put a blanket over you, have a hot water bottle near you. You don't have to go to bed, but you can do things that will help, and obviously just to sort of wiggle your toes and your feet, and just do some little things in a chair to keep the blood circulation going. Obviously have plenty of hot drinks, have a flask. Get your carers to make a flask and put it next to you if you're not able to get into the kitchen and make it yourself.
Oh, it sounds all so desperate and sad, Karen. I know this is brilliant advice, but isn't it a sad image? An old person under a blanket, wiggling their toes with a flask of tea next to them.
Yes. It is a very sad thing that in this day and age we have people that are suffering this way, and obviously all Age UKs are urging the government to do something about it. There are some initiatives through the electricity and gas companies. There are some criteria, and we'll be working on those through the winter to try and get people to actually be registered with their gas and energy suppliers to actually get a rebate. There are some rebates available if you meet certain criteria, and that's if you're on pension credit and things like that.
The winter fuel payment, Karen, how much of a difference does that really make to people?
Well, it's a little lower again this year, isn't it? It's £200 for anybody under 80 for the household. I think people worry that that's not going to.
It's not a lot, is it?
And with the economic crisis that we've had for the past couple of years, that £200 could quite easily get spent on other things. And older people are family members, and they like to give people things, so they'll be thinking about Christmas and that sort of thing. But I would urge all older people to use that money for their bills, to keep their heating on low, to do things like that to keep warm, because that's how it has to be. We do have to look after our older people. We do have to ensure that these excess winter deaths are as low as possible, and we do have to ensure that they keep warm, keep healthy and keep safe in the winter months.
Karen Perry, Chief Executive of Age UK Bedfordshire, thank you very much. I'm still shocked by that figure. 27,000 people, the majority of them will be old, not all of them, are going to die this year because of the cold weather. In Britain, in 2012, I find that incredible. If you're an older person and you're a bit worried about your fuel bills and keeping the heating on, and you're already kind of cutting corners, maybe only having the heating on for a couple of hours in the afternoon, and can you give us a call? 08459 455 555. If you're an older person, or you have a relative who's is older and perhaps lives on their own, and you're a little bit concerned about them, about how they're going to cope because I get my fuel bill, flippin' heck. The last one, I couldn't believe it. We've got the heating on all the time. We've got the baby. We've got the heating on all the time. I'm dreading what the next bill's going to be, but I'll moan about it, but I'll be able to pay it. I can't imagine being in a situation where I'm turning. I mean, I turn the heating down. I'm constantly turning it down, turning it off. But I can't imagine being in a situation where I couldn't afford to turn it on. 08459 455 555 is the... Isn't it interesting? We're talking about two different things about older people here. If you're 70 and over, maybe you're too old to work. And also, if you're old and you're afraid of turning the heating on. Let's get the weather with Elizabeth Rossini.
Hello, good morning. Well, I guess the last thing we want to hear about now is more rain, but it's also going to turn colder through the midweek with a bitter old northeastern breeze. Don't
laugh because it's going to turn colder, Elizabeth. I heard you giggle then.
It's kind of ironic, sort of. Now the problem is this.
As a weather person,
yeah.
Do you get excited when it's bad weather?
Yes, but I do, but I there's a lot of guilt attached to that as well, because, some people's homes have been flooded, and there's me kind of going, whoa, over the weather map.
They have.
Yes, the winds were very exciting as well over the weekend, mustn't forget those.
Exciting winds.
Of, 70 miles an hour and stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm. Lots of rain. The focus for the rain today is actually over sort of Yorkshire, Lancashire, Cumbria way now. But still plenty of floods out towards the southwest as well.
Anything else you want to tell us about that's going to happen that's bad?
Not for now, but I'll if I find something bad later on, I'll remember to bring it up.
Elizabeth Rossini, thank you very much. It's good to have someone who enjoys their job, isn't it? And Elizabeth Rossini obviously takes great pleasure from her job. So, we should celebrate that. Maybe we will celebrate that one day. If you love your job, maybe we'll do that as a phone-in one day. Anyway, Paul Simon, Slip Sliding Away. I hate songs that miss out G's and have apostrophes. It makes me uncomfortable. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots going on this morning, as always. Good to have your input on a Monday morning. I'm a 4-day week again for me, I'm afraid. 4-day week. Sorry. It's Thursday. After Thursday's show, I'm rushing off in my luxury Polo Volkswagen and driving to an airport and getting on an airplane and flying to America. You may have heard of it. It's America, the United States thereof. Yeah, I'm going to New York to see the monkeys. Can you believe that? On my own, my wife is pleased that I'm spending all that money on a middle-aged indulgence. She's so happy with me. With Christmas coming up, house move, kids, presents, stuff like that. She's really happy that I'm going away for 4 nights on my own at great expense. No! Talk about your midlife crises. Anyway, yesterday at the Brazilian Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel, who drives a Milton Keynes-based Red Bull, became F1's youngest 3-time champion at 25 years old. Red Bull had already picked up their third consecutive Drivers' Constructors' Championship, becoming only the fourth F1 team to achieve that feat. Well, Bob Bull is a motor racing journalist. Morning, Bob.
Good morning, Ian.
Cards on the table. I know nothing about F1. I have to be honest, OK? But can you put into perspective exactly what Vettel has achieved?
Well, it's a pretty special thing.
Right.
He's won 3 championships in a row. Only 2 people have ever done that before, the great Manuel Fangio and our own Michael Schumacher. So, and he's also the youngest person to have ever done it. And coupled with the fact that, as you say, the Milton Keynes-based team have won 3 Constructors' Championships in a row as well, I think the whole thing is really quite an amazing a feat.
25 is an amazing age. What were the other chaps? Schumacher and Manuel Fangio?
Yes.
How old were they when they won their 2? Oh, I've put you on the spot, Bob, haven't I? Sorry.
No. Fangio was into his 40s when he finished his championship thing. He was well old, and Schumacher, of course, he was also into his late 30s by the time he...
Well old.
Yes.
How have Red Bull become so dominant in such a short space of time? Because the team was only set up, what 6-7 years ago?
Well, it's been set up as Stewart Grand Prix, based at Milton Keynes, when it was Jackie Stewart who formed it. It then became Jaguar when they took it over. It then transmogrified, whatever the expression is, into Red Bull. So, to be honest, it's not a brand new team, or it's a brand new name.
Right.
But it's one name. We all mention Sebastian Vettel. He's won 3 championships, but the man who's responsible is Adrian Newey, their technical director, who is just a technical genius. He always produces a clever car. He always produces clever little tweaks through the air. And to be honest, without Adrian Newey, they wouldn't be where they are. That's not to say the rest of them aren't worthy of an enormous amount of praise, because it's a tremendously well-knit team.
Because a lot of it, Bob, it is the technical capabilities of the car. I mean, obviously the driving is a major important factor, but it's the car that can win it as well, isn't it?
Oh, very much so, yes. I mean, the Red Bull has been the class of the field most of the year. Occasionally, McLaren have come fairly close, but Ferrari and Alonso have never, ever had the fastest car. So in many, many ways, a lot of people think that Alonso's probably done a better job because he hasn't had the same car that Vettel's had. But Vettel won 5 races and his teammate Webber won 2, so that's 7 of the 20 races all went to Red Bull. So, you can't odds that, can you?
Bob, why do you enjoy Formula One so much? Because I've never really given it much time, and I don't quite get it. Explain to me why it's so exciting.
It's very difficult to answer that question, isn't it?
Right.
I can't stand football. I wouldn't give you tuppence to watch a football match, for instance. And cricket bores me silly.
Oh, cricket's terrible, isn't it?
These other things,
Yeah.
But when I was a very young man, a young lad actually, went to the Isle of Man on holiday, and they had some motorcycle racing on there. My dad and I were absolutely enchanted by it, and I've just been a follower of motorsports ever since. But I saw my first British Grand Prix in 1952, so, it's difficult to let go.
Yeah.
It's like a drug.
I have been to Silverstone, and I've stood very close to the pit stop and stuff, and it's very noisy. It is very exciting. It's very noisy, and there's a lot of smells. There's a good atmosphere, isn't there?
Oh, there is, yes. The fans are tremendously supportive of their drivers and the sport generally, and you don't get any of the hooliganism that you sometimes see in other sports.
Yeah.
They're pure enthusiasts, but they have to be. Let's face it, if you're going to get up in the pouring rain and sit in a muddy car park and not get home till the next morning, you've got to be keen, and that's the motor racing fan.
Bob, listen, thank you so much for explaining that. I appreciate that a lot. Bob Bull, motor racing journalist, telling us about Sebastian Vettel, who drives a Milton Keynes-based Red Bull, Formula One's youngest 3-time champion. I've never got Formula One, and it was interesting to hear Bob explain why he does get it and why it's so important to him. I've tried. It's interesting, I think, talking to sports people about why they get their sports. Oh dear, a knob has fallen off. A very important piece of equipment has... hang on a second. There we go. Fixed it. Everything fixed. So now, up to date, state-of-the-art studio. We'll post a picture of the studio and the knob that fell off on the Facebook page. You can have a look at it in a few minutes. I think it's... Yes, well, I think it's fixed. Good morning. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots coming up in the next hour of the show, including... We speak to the solicitor of an 81-year-old Bletchley woman who's suing a DIY store for unfair dismissal. They wanted her to work more flexible hours. She said it disrupted her social life. Are you too old for the workplace if you're over 70? Are you avoiding putting your heating on to save money? BBC Three Counties has learnt that tens of thousands of older people will struggle to keep warm this winter. And there are a number of flood warnings in place in Bedfordshire and Buckinghamshire today. Our reporter Justin Dealey is finding out just how prepared you are for the bad weather. If you want to get in touch, you can text 81333, starting your text 3CR. You can give us a call, 08459 455 555. Or you can go to the Facebook page, and I will post a picture of my broken knob on the Facebook page in a second. Facebook.com/BBC 3CR. It's good to go there, hang out. Hang out. I'm such an old man. We put up kind of pictures and clips and what's coming up and all the various shows, so do go and have a look.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, an 81-year-old woman from Bletchley is suing DIY store B&Q for unfair dismissal. Irene Mullinger had worked for the company for nearly 25 years and had wanted to carry on. However, when they wanted her to work flexible hours, she said it would disrupt her social life. Our reporter Jessica Cooper has been speaking to her.
I wanted to keep on for as long as possible because I enjoy working, I enjoy meeting people, and I don't want to sit at home and vegetate, because a lot of people, they just go, when they retire, they're lonely and don't know what to do with themselves. Because I live on my own, it's essential to keep mixing with people. And I do enjoy talking and listening and different things like that.
How much do you think your decision to not change your hours, and your employer, you say, didn't really give you much choice, either change your hours or you have to leave, do you think that was because of your age you were given that choice?
I'm not 100% sure, but obviously it's more difficult for an older person to adjust to working different hours. I mean, some people like getting up early in the morning and other people like working late. Me, I like getting up late and working early.
You like your lions.
That's right.
Do you think there's a certain kind of cut-off point where older people should give up work? Is there an age that we should adhere to as, OK, you're 80 and that means you've got to stop?
I think if people are fit and energetic enough and they want to work, then fine. But of course, nowadays it's very hard to get different jobs because people work flexible time, so the part-time vacancies aren't quite so easy to become by. And I mean, youngsters are finding it hard now, especially those that go to university that want to fit in a part-time job to help supplement their income. It's getting harder and harder to, get those sort of jobs.
What will you do now then, Irene? Will you work or busy your time at home? What's next?
Well, I love gardening, I like decorating the house and working away, and I meet friends. I should be doing all sorts of things, and if I do happen to get bored, well, I can always go and work voluntarily. There must be things that I can, make myself useful.
So you've still not retired?
No.
Got a statement from B&Q. B&Q, of course, stands for Block and Quail. As this is a legal case, we can't comment in detail. However, we can say this has nothing to do with age. B&Q has always valued the diversity of its workforce. Almost 30% of our 33,000 employees are over 50 years old, and our oldest employee is 89. We do not consider the age of staff when organising rotas. We consider having people in the right place at the right time. Well, Irene's solicitor, Daniel Valentine of Regents Solicitors in Manchester, is bringing the case against B&Q. Joins me now. Morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Ian.
Now, you say that Irene is the victim of indirect age discrimination. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's a little bit of a complicated concept, but what we're saying is, we're not saying that B&Q is directly discriminating against older people. What we're saying is they're putting in place requirements or conditions which statistically older people would be less able to comply, and therefore they need to be able to objectively justify that requirement or condition that they're putting in place.
What are those specific conditions?
Well, in Irene's case, what they specifically required is that she worked early and late shifts across 5 days out of 7, and at least 2 weekends a month. And in doing so, they didn't take account of the fact that Irene is actually also a protected shop worker, which means she's legally protected from having to work on a Sunday.
But it's not necessarily an age thing, is it? Because what about if you've got young kids? Then you'd struggle with those hours. That's just part of having a job, though, isn't it?
The way that discrimination legislation works now is it doesn't discriminate against what we call protected characteristics.
Right.
So if it was the case that this requirement or condition also had a discriminatory effect on say, women,
right.
because women with young children would be unable to comply with that requirement or condition, then equally they would be able to ask the company to justify the decision that they've made.
Daniel, listen, businesses, everyone's struggling. Businesses are going bust, and, the country's in a terrible state. If an employer asked you to work certain hours, then surely you have to make yourself available to work those hours if it's in your contract, don't you?
Well, the fact is, it isn't in Irene's contract. Her
contract says she has to be available, doesn't she?
Her current contract says that she needs to be available for normal hours.
Right.
But actually, she's worked for such a long time that it's become an implied condition of her contract.
Well, an implied condition of a contract.
Yes. Yeah, what happens is if after a certain amount of time somebody has been doing the same hours for a long period of time to the extent that they can reasonably be expected to have those hours, then that actually becomes the implied term of their contract, and that's why the company was required to go through a reasonable consultation process before they sought to change her hours.
I am slightly confused by this, because there are people out there who are desperate for jobs, and for someone to say, I can't do the hours they want because it messes with my social life, which is what Irene has been saying, it smacks a little bit of arrogance, doesn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say that Irene is arrogant. What I would say is that Irene is just simply asking the company to justify the decision that they have made to dismiss her because she hasn't agreed to change her hours to the flexible hours which they've said that she must work. Now we need to put this.
But you can't. But Daniel, listen. You can't say no to hours that an employer might put on you just because it affects your social life. That's not fair on the employer.
But I think that's perhaps Irene being a little bit too comfortable. And too nice about this. Think about
so she's saying she's not towing the line that you want her to tow. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. But think it through. Think it through. This is an 81-year-old lady.
Yeah.
You're asking her to start at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. So when she just let me just to clarify, she's on after 8 o'clock. So I will put this to her. That when she says, and I think she said at least twice in that report to our reporter there, that she can't do these hours because it affects her social life. You're saying that she's wrong when she says that. That's not the reason.
No, I'm not saying that, and it will affect her social life. But what I'm saying,
well, it's tough, isn't it? That's what jobs do. Jobs do affect your social life.
Well, what I'm saying is that it isn't for the company to put in place a requirement or condition which, by its very nature, will prevent certain groups of people complying with that.
Yes,
and that effectively is what we say that the company has done. Now, it may well be the case that the company is perfectly able to justify that.
Yeah.
And indeed, we've given the company every opportunity to justify that, but they've simply refused to engage with us.
Are you going to have a word with Irene and ask her to stop saying that it affects her social life?
No,
because she's on after 8. So if you want to get her, you've got 50 minutes.
No, why would I do that? Irene is more than capable of speaking for herself.
OK, Daniel, listen, thank you very much. Daniel Valentine, Regent Solicitors in Manchester. And Irene will be on the show after 8 o'clock. We'll be talking to her. 08459 455 555. I want to hear your views on this. Do you think that if you're over 70, you're too old for the workplace? Surely, in this day and age, if people are desperate for work, then for someone to say, I can't work those hours, it affects my social life, that's not very fair, is it? Well, our reporter, Justin Dealey, has been out finding what you think.
Paul, if you're 70 and over, are you simply too old for the workplace? What's your views on this?
I think you should be able to work as long as you're able to. As long as you can do the job, that's fair enough.
Some people would say people working over 70, they're putting younger people out of work. Is there a point there as well?
Yeah, of course there is, yeah. Youngsters have got a right to work as well, like, you know. If they're not retiring early, then the jobs are not there for the younger people.
And what about yourself, Paul? You don't look a day over 25.
That's very kind of you.
Well, when do you aim to retire? Have you got a target?
I still quite enjoy work, but I would think 65. 65 sounds like a good time for me.
Now, David, you've spoken to somebody recently who's still working at the age of 83. Tell us more about that.
He loves his work. He's worked all his life. and he couldn't retire. He does his part-time, and he loves it. I say, go ahead, do it. If they want to carry on, let them carry on. If they're fit and healthy, go for it. I would.
So when you walk into a shop and you see somebody over the age of 80, let's say, you don't look at them and think, they shouldn't really be here.
No, I don't really. No, I'm not going to stop them.
And let's get the lady's perspective on this as well. Madam, if you're over the age of 70, are you simply too old for the workplace?
Yeah, you should be at that time taking it easy, I mean...
So when you get to the age of 70, you certainly don't want to be working, do you?
Well, not flogging myself, no. Not just enjoying life, I suppose, at the time.
You want to be on a beach somewhere?
Yeah, I think that might be more ideal, really, relaxing.
Thank you very much indeed, Justin. Out and about. If you ever see a young blonde man with flowing flocks and a shirt undone to his navel with a BBC Three Counties microphone, that'll be Justin Dealey. Go and say hello to him. He's a lovely, lovely chap. He doesn't bite very often. Right, if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter, right? And if you just follow at JVS Show, because he was having a breakdown on Sunday morning. Did you see that? Because his bath... I don't know what was going on. He was whinging like an old woman. His bath pipe or toilet pipe was blocked up, and he was worried it was going to be leaking through to the flat downstairs. Oh, it was all happening about 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. It was hilarious. He was proper panicking. I think it started off him being a little bit amused and a bit wry. And then an hour later, he was panicking. It was hilarious. He sorted it out with some vinegar. Yeah, vinegar, as I'm sure you know, dear listener, you can do anything with vinegar. You've got a stain in the carpet, vinegar. Smell of cat wee, vinegar. I was wearing something at the weekend that stank of cat wee. I don't know what it was. I had to go, I was on Sky. I had to go and be all posh and wear a suit, and something I was wearing stank of cat wee. Awful. I'm going off on too many tangents. I need to just focus on what we're talking about. The government says it's looking at alternative sites to locate fitness for work assessments in Luton. It's emerged that the current building where they take place doesn't have disabled access. Across the country, around a quarter of the ATOF centres don't have proper access, and it's causing a backlog for people trying to get benefits. We sent our reporter Victoria Cook to the assessment centre on Alma Street in Luton to find out more.
I'm standing outside Cresta House. That's the name of the building where all these assessments take place. But they take place on the 6th floor of this building. So I'm hoping to go inside and to see for myself what issues people face when trying to get to the 6th floor. I've just left the building and seen for myself that the assessment centre is on the 6th floor. It's the very top floor of this building. And to get inside the building, there is a wheelchair ramp through the front door. And to get up to the 6th floor, you can take one of 2 lifts. They're quite small. They take about 8 people each. And of course, there's a staircase as well. It looks like this building's being used by a number of different companies on each different floor. And it's the assessment centre, which is right at the top. But if you look on the website for Atos Healthcare in Luton before you arrive, it does warn that the assessment centre is on the 6th floor. The website actually says if you think that you would have difficulty going down the stairs in the event of an emergency or would need assistance from someone else, that you are to warn them in advance. It goes on to say that the assessment centre can be accessed by lift, but if an emergency evacuation of the building is required, such as a fire alarm, the lift cannot be used. And it finishes by saying there are 126 steps to the ground floor.
Wow. Well, Andrew Selous, is the Conservative MP for South West Bedfordshire and Parliamentary Private Secretary for Iain Duncan-Smith in the Department for Work and Pension, the department that leased the building in Luton. Morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Nice to be with you.
Why doesn't the building have disabled access?
Well, the government and Atos have said that it's clearly not an ideal location, and they are looking for an alternative site. What you didn't say in your introduction is that if people think they're not going to be able to get down the stairs, which clearly some people won't be able to
127 stairs, yes.
Yes, but the offer is to arrange an alternative location or a home visit for those people that can't cope. I mean, I agree with you. It's clearly not...
We're supposed to be making everything inclusive and not excluding anybody by having this office on the 6th floor of a building with 2 small lifts and 127 stairs. That is excluding people, isn't it?
Well, I agree with you, and I think Atos agree that it is not an ideal location. In my own constituency, we've got the Disability Resource Centre, very easily accessible on Pointers Road in Dunstable. I know they have offered Atos that this could be a location that people could go to. I'm very happy as a local MP to see if I can facilitate those discussions, because I think that would be an easy location for people to get to, plenty of parking and all on the ground floor.
Andrew, well, listen, and that's a fantastic offer, and we will follow that and hopefully pursue that and to its conclusion. But how could it have got this far? At some point, someone would have been sat on the 6th floor going, hey, there's something wrong with this building. Oh, yeah, we can't get disabled people up here.
Yes, I agree. I mean, this service, it's not actually run by the government. It's run by a company called Atos, who are contracted to the government. But I take your point. It's clearly not ideal. Atos do recognise that. As I said, if people do have difficulty, Atos will arrange either a home visit or an assessment at another location. But it would clearly be best of all if everyone could go there and it was completely accessible. And that's what the Disability Resource Centre on Pointers Road, Dunstable, would offer.
So, Andrew, you are saying that you will facilitate moving this 6th floor company into this ground floor building, will you?
Well, I'm certainly going to see if that is possible. I don't have the power or authority to do that just as an individual constituency MP, but I will speak to DWP. I will speak to Atos. I know Mick Dillon well, who runs the Disability Resource Centre in Pointers Road. He's one of my constituents. I know he's happy to offer to do it there. You know, I just want to start that conversation to see if it's possible, and we know that Atos recognise the building isn't ideal, so hopefully
that's great.
there might be a way through this.
That's great. Let's pursue that in Dunstable. But there must be somewhere in Luton where people in wheelchairs can go.
Well, absolutely. I'm not an expert on what properties are available in Luton at the moment, but you're clearly right, and I hope those conversations are taking place in Luton as well to see what's available. It's just that I know the Disability Resource Centre well in my own constituency.
Well, Andrew, that's great that you've given that alternative in Dunstable, and we shall follow that, sir, if that's OK, and make sure that happens. But there must be somewhere in Luton as well. Andrew Selous is Conservative MP, South West Bedfordshire. Thank you very much for coming on. The Department for Work and Pensions have sent us this statement where an assessment centre isn't on the ground floor, as is the case with Luton. We endeavour to make this clear to people before they arrive for their appointment. If people have mobility problems, which may make evacuation in the event of a fire difficult, a home visit or an appointment and an alternative assessment, as Andrew just said, is arranged. We are looking at alternatives to the centre in Luton. And Atos, who run the centre, also declined to come on the show this morning. They've sent us a statement. By the way, companies, can I just say, statements make you look not brilliant. You know, it's much better if you put up a human being to come on and have a chat. People like you a bit more. People find statements a bit cold and a bit dismissive. But this is the statement from Atos. We let people know about access prior to scheduling appointments to try to ensure that no one goes to a centre that isn't appropriate for them. Luton is a government building, so we are working with the DWP to ensure we best meet the needs of those claiming benefits.
This is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Talking about older people working, there's a story we've been following all morning about an 81-year-old lady who is suing B&Q, claiming unfair dismissal because the hours that they wanted her to work didn't really fit in with her social life. That's according to her. That's not according to her solicitor, who I imagine is on the phone to her now saying, yeah, don't mention the social life, Irene. Please don't mention the social life. We're asking, should you stop working over 70? Richard and Flitwick has texted him, 81333, starting his text 3CR. I think it should be compulsory to retire at 65, whilst there is record youth unemployment. Job blocking by pensioners should be stopped so younger people can work. Those pensioners wanting to work should do voluntary work who are desperate for people. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call on that or anything else. By the way, the picture of my broken knob is up on Facebook now and Twitter, at BBC3CR on Twitter, and facebook.com/BBC3CR if you want to go and have a look at that. Of course you do. Let's have a quick look at the front pages, shall we? Yes, it would be rude not to. Lots of pictures of the Rolling Stones everywhere. Mick Jagger looking, he does look ridiculous. He looks like his face, I think, is made of the same material that they make turkeys' necks from. I think so. The Times, 5-star showman Mick rolls back half a century, and secret church memo on women demands U-turn. The Church of England is facing a major constitutional crisis as a result of the fiasco last week over women bishops. There's, on the Independent, Boris Johnson is in India. And he's desperately trying not to buy any of that tat that I've been to India. I went to India for my honeymoon. I loved it. But you do get people trying to sell you a load of old tat on the street, don't you? And we went to where was it? Was it in Agra? We went to a temple, a fort or something anyway, and we rode up an elephant, as you do. And you have all these dudes taking photographs of you, and at the end they try and sell you, they'll come rushing up trying to sell you photographs, and we bought some. And there was one guy, and we said, we'll buy them later. Right? And we didn't really want to buy them. We'll buy them later. And then me and my new bride got in our car, we were being driven around, and we were being followed by a motorbike, and this motorbike was flashing us, and we got a bit scared thinking, I think we're going to get shot here. And this guy zoomed up beside the car as you're driving, banging on the window. What the hell is this? He's banging on the window. And then he's asking us to wind the window down. I was saying, please, dear God, do not wind the window down. And he held up a photo of us on an elephant. And it was the guy with the photos. And, he pulled up to our driver, who had his window open, and the driver just pushed him. He pushed him away. Oh, dearie me. Anyway, I'm sure Boris isn't involved in any of that. The Guardian. The sham directors. The existence of an extraordinary global network of sham company directors, most of them British, can be revealed today. Oh, that looks interesting. We'll read that later on. The Daily Telegraph. We want our foster children back. Couple to fight to clear their names after council said membership of UKIP made them unsuitable carers. And then there's another picture of Mick Jagger. A story about the storms as well. The Daily Mail. Victims of the thought police, snatched foster children are traumatised, say loving couple branded racist for supporting UKIP. And there's a shot right down the back of Mick Jagger's throat there. The Daily Express, healthy heart is key to fighting dementia. And there's snow in Cumbria. Well, I like a bit of snow. I can't wait for the snow. Is there a good hill around here? Is there a good hill in Luton that we can go sledging on? There must be. Right. I'm going to start putting my sledge in the back of my car. Ready. Always be prepared. We're going to go sledging. And the Sun. Rex Fact. Oh, it's about that programme where they sing. I'm not even going to give them the oxygen of publicity.
Talking. This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
We seem to have... I don't know what happened there. We seem to have skipped the travel bed. It's confused everybody. Catherine Boyle upstairs will be panicking like a headless chicken. We can still make this work, though. Sophie, can you give us the travel news over the news bed?
I'm sure I can make it work. Sophie Tyler, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Down, down, down. Oh, I don't need to do that, actually, because I can just do this now.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio. Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
I don't think anybody noticed any of the technical problems in the last 5 minutes. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. I mentioned following Jonathan Vernon-Smith on Twitter. He's not even started. He's angry already this morning. Seriously, at JVS Show on Twitter, he's kicking off this morning. I imagine when he comes down here in about 45 minutes' time, he'll be fuming by then. Coming up in the next half an hour of this show, BBC Three Counties investigates and finds that tens of thousands of older people could be at risk of not keeping warm this winter. And you remember a few weeks ago we told you about a proposal to turn part of a village green in Eaton Bray into a football pitch. Well, the plans have now... It kicked off. It was quite a tense morning. Now, Justin was out and about on the village green with some villagers and some people from the council. It was all very polite, and then something happened and they all went feral. Very, very tense. Well, the plans have been considered by the council. We've got some interesting news. We shall tell you more on that in a little bit. Now, it's feared that around 70,000 elderly people in the three counties could be at risk this winter of not keeping warm. In Milton Keynes alone, there were nearly 100 excess winter deaths last year, and I find that incredible. In Britain, in 2012, that anyone should die because they can't afford their heating. Well, the government is giving councils in Beds, Herts and Bucks close to £1 million in total to help older people during the cold months. James is 63 and from Bean Hill, which is known to be one of the most deprived estates in Milton Keynes. He's been explaining to our reporter Jessica Cooper how he's coping.
Difficult. Very difficult, especially the electric, because we've got slot meters and we only get pension. We're surviving, we're not living. if you know what I mean. I'm going in the co-op now and I'm buying the cheap brands just to get through.
In your situation, you've just come out of hospital.
Yeah, I've just had 3 major operations. It's just difficult because when I was in hospital, they cut my pension because my wife gets a little bit of carer's allowance. Because I was in hospital, she wasn't caring for me, so they stopped it. It's just bad.
And this time of year, in the run-up to Christmas, obviously, people be thinking about getting presents.
Yeah.
What situation are you in?
Well, I've got 8 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren, and we're just struggling. We've been buying bits each week and potting them away, you know. It's very, very difficult.
What would make it easier then for you?
More money, obviously.
Well, Margaret Roberts is a counsellor in Bean Hill. Morning, Margaret.
Good morning.
How are elderly people feeling about keeping warm this winter?
I think they're very worried from the people I've spoke to anyway. They are very worried indeed. I know they get the heating allowance. I don't know what, £200 I think, or
something like that, yeah,
or something. Yes, but a lot of them are still terrified to put the heating on. The prices are rising dramatically now.
So what are they saying to you, Margaret? Are they upset? Are they afraid? What are they saying to you?
I think they're more afraid than anything. They tend to go to bed early, extra blanket on the bed if they've got one, just to keep warm so they're not having to put the heating on.
How are you on the council trying to help them, Margaret?
Well, another councillor on another estate, on Netherfield, and myself have opened up a drop-in where we can help not just the elderly but the young ones as well, with clothes, blankets, if we can get them, quilts and things like that.
And where are you getting these clothes and blankets from?
Donations, anywhere we can get them. So we're putting out a plea on 3 Counties Radio.
Well, no, go on, listen. So if someone's got... Cause I remember a couple of years ago that there was... Where I lived, there was a similar thing. People were saying if you've got any spare jumpers or any spare duvets or anything, then drop them round. So what are you after and where can people take it?
Well, we're after duvets, blankets, as you say, warm clothes for elderly, young, anybody. Right across the board.
And where do they take it, Margaret? How do they get in touch?
I would think the best bet is me.
OK, so find Margaret Roberts.
Yeah, I'm on Bean Hill. I live on Bean Hill.
OK, listen, do you think Bean Hill unfairly gets a bad name?
Unfairly, yes, because we have got the best one of the best community spirits in Milton Keynes. We've got the Moorland Centre, which has got a community centre. We've got Bean Hill Action Group, which is like the Residents Association, and we've got the 3 councillors. Now, between these 3, we organise fun days, day trips, theme nights at the community centre. So a community spirit we've got. We've got new doctors, we've got a dental service here, we've got a chemist here, we've got a good corner shop.
What more could you want? Good doctors, dentists and a corner shop. Margaret, listen, we've got to end it there. Margaret Roberts, thank you very much indeed.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC 3 Counties Radio.
Over the last 6 months, we've been talking a lot about the new Bedford Free School. A government inspector has ruled that the school can stay open in its current building. It follows a row between the school and Bedford Borough Council over whether or not Caldwell Street is too busy for a school to be located. Now, Bedford Borough Council says government intervention to grow up planning makes a mockery of the localism bill. David Sawyer is Head of Education at Bedford Borough Council. Morning, David.
Good morning.
So you think this is the wrong decision?
Yep, I think it's the wrong decision. For the reason that you've just given, because the decision's been taken in Whitehall without any regard whatsoever for the safety of children.
Why did you reject the application? What was wrong with it?
There was serious... the school, as you know, is in Caldwell Street in the middle of an extremely busy one-way system, and there were real concerns about the safety of children crossing the road.
So planning permission has been given. How will these safety issues be addressed?
Well, there'll be no additional precautions taken. I mean, clearly parents do have a responsibility to look after their children, and these are children 11 years old. But there's always a worry. I think children and busy traffic are a very dangerous mixture. And the Borough Council would never have opened a school in a busy street like that. We have planning controls to stop these things happening, to protect the safety of children. These have been totally overruled by a department, basically, that's supposed to sponsor localism and is supposed to devolve power to local councils. They've done quite the opposite here. They've hijacked the process, they've interfered, and they've taken a decision 50 miles away in Whitehall without any thought, I believe, for the safety of our children.
You're angry about this, aren't you?
I am.
What can you do next, David? Can you appeal, or is that it?
Well, there is a process for appeal. And the council will look at that. I mean, there'll be a cost concern. We have to make sure that we do things in the best interest of the taxpayers. What we will do is to make sure that every possible step is taken to protect the safety of the children, and we'll work with the school to achieve that.
The school opened anyway, even though you'd refused the planning permission. Doesn't that indicate that actually the council's got very little power?
Well, such power as the council has been taken away from us. I mean, there's a planning process, and we do have power to prevent these things happening. But as you say, the school opened, it totally ignored the normal constraints. The appeal process was taken over in Whitehall, and they made basically a political decision. I mean, this is absolutely no surprise to me. This is a political decision where the education policies of the current Conservative government that are very, very keen on free schools have taken priority over the safety of the children.
Can you see the floodgates opening here, David? It sets a precedent, doesn't it?
Possibly. I mean, I don't see necessarily any floodgates opening. Clearly, as I say, the government are very keen on free schools. There have been a number around the country. I'm not aware of any serious applications happening here in the borough at the moment, but you never know. But my concern is not simply about free schools or not free schools. It's about the safety of children. That's always been paramount to me, and I will do everything I possibly can to make sure children can go to school and leave school and be safe.
There will, of course, be a lot of people, the parents and the teachers at this school, who will be thinking this is the right decision, and it's just sour grapes on your part.
Well, they know that. Will think it's the right decision. But I don't think this is sour grapes. I think these are genuine concerns. This isn't just me personally. This is my colleagues on the council, officers who looked at the application. They have genuine concerns about the safety of children. The school is almost in the middle of a roundabout.
David Sawyer, thank you very much indeed. Head of Education at Bedford Borough Council, 08459 455 555. We've covered this story quite a bit. Maybe you've got kids or a child that goes to the school. Maybe you work at the school, Bedford Free School, and you think, well, for goodness sakes, the council, get over it. The decision's been made. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The parents are being responsible when they drop their kids off. 08459 455 555. Or maybe you agree with David Sawyer, and you live in that area, and you see what it's like, and every time you go past it in the morning and in the afternoon, you are terrified because you think possibly it's an accident waiting to happen. 81333, starting your text 3CR, or 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Also the number to give us a call. We're asking this morning, in light of this case of this 81-year-old woman who's going to be on the show after 8 o'clock, who has lost her job at B&Q. She says it's because she didn't want to work the hours that they wanted her to work. It didn't fit in with her social life. Her solicitor says something a little bit different, and no doubt he's been on the phone to her this morning saying, please, Irene, don't mention the social life. It doesn't do our argument any good whatsoever. 08459 455 555. She'll be on after 8 o'clock. So we can get her side of the story. But do you think, once you get to 70 and over, that's it? You should stop working, make room for some younger people to do some jobs. If you can't be flexible, if you're going to slow things down, then perhaps you should just stop. Can we find, here we go, before 9 o'clock, can we find the oldest working person listening to this show, please? 08459 455 555. Can we find anyone over 80 who's still working? On the subject of old people keeping warm is Doris in Stevenage. Morning, Doris.
Good morning.
Are you worried about your heating bills this Christmas?
Well, no, you're trying to keep it down as best you can.
Yeah.
I'm not too bad, though.
But it's blooming cold. It's only sort of the end of November, and it's freezing.
Yeah, it is cold.
What do you do to keep warm, Doris? You run around a bit, star jumps?
I'll soon be 91.
Happy birthday for your 91st when that is. So how do you keep warm then?
Just keep wrap up with plenty of woolies and wearing a hat. Woolly hat.
A nice big woolly hat.
My husband always told me, keep your woolly hat on, you lose your heat through your head.
I wear at night, Doris, and people laugh at me. They think it's an affectation, but it's not. It's true. You know those... I've got a wee willy winky.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So at night time, I get my wee willy winky out, and it keeps me nice and toasty and warm.
It does, yeah?
Yeah.
It's a good idea, I think. No, don't want so many people are suffering now with the cold.
Maybe the government should just go and give everyone a wee willy winky.
They should do,
They should do. Doris, you're not working, are you, at 91?
No.
Okay,
I've not long been out of hospital. I had 3 months in hospital.
Oh, blimey. Is everything... You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right now.
All right. Well, you listen, you go and put your hat on, Doris. You keep nice and warm. I like those wee willy winky hats. You know, the little conical things, yes.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, we covered this a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of thought this would be an interesting little story, and we'll get people's attitudes and stuff. And it turned out it was fascinating. You enjoyed it. I loved it. It nearly kicked off. It was incredible. And it just shows how passionate people are about their communities, and particularly about their village greens, the great British institution. The village green. A proposal to turn part of a village green in Bedfordshire into football pitches has been met and granted planning permission by the local council. It's got the thumbs up. Eaton Bray Lions, a junior football club, will lease part of the green from the parish council for 21 years. They will now build an AstroTurf pitch and develop 2 five-a-side pitches. The decision has angered some local residents. Ruth Archer is from the Friends of the Green. Morning, Ruth.
Good morning.
How do you feel about the decision?
Well, clearly we're very disappointed.
And is that it? Are you angry? Are you upset?
Well, we still have a lot of concerns about this development.
Tell us the concerns you have.
Well, we believe that this could set a precedent, so this will affect not only Eaton Bray Village Green, but every village green in the country. Because if it can happen here, it can happen in Studham, Whitsnade, Kensworth, anywhere in the country.
Did you ever think that your argument was strong enough and this proposal would be rejected?
I thought our argument was very strong, and I think we've still got a lot of valid points that need to be listened to.
Can you see any positives in it, though? Investment in the village? That's got to be a good thing, isn't it?
I feel that one of the main problems that's going to be is the noise levels, which at the moment, EB Parish Council has stated that there would be no significant increase in noise levels over and above the current noise levels. However, they have failed to quantify what the current noise levels are. So I think that would be a very strong focus at the moment.
Well, but surely that just means that it will stay the same.
Well, how can it stay the same if you're proposing to play 70 hours of football on the green?
It's just the sound of people playing football, though.
It will not be the same because it's going to be on an AstroTurf pitch. So, and also you've got to think the quantities.
Yes.
And the amount of time.
Does the AstroTurf make a difference to the noise
It's the
factor?
board at the bottom where it's constantly banging off the board.
Banging off the board, OK. The pitch is only, if I remember correctly, is it 5% or 10% of the village green? So it's only a tiny...
It's 12%.
12%, so it's a tiny proportion, isn't it?
But that actually, can I also say, that does not take into account the car park. And it's interesting that when the highway officer has looked at the car parking issues, he does not seem to have taken into account any other users on this village green. They've only estimated it on the footballers' use. So already they seem to have claimed this as a football ground, not a village green. So perhaps that needs to be a big warning to other village greens all over the country.
Ruth, stay there, because we've got Paul Marshall on the line. He's chairman of Eaton Bray Lions. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Iain.
You must be very happy with this decision.
Well, we were pleased because obviously it's an application that we were proposing.
Do you sympathise with anything that Ruth has said?
Yes, of course. We've always tried to be sympathetic to the neighbours, and during the planning process there's been a number of things which have made the pitch, while still fit for purpose, less less onerous for the neighbours.
The noise, Paul, the noise. The ball's going to be banging on that board, and it's on AstroTurf. It's going to be much noisier than it is now.
Well, it will be a bit noisier now because at the moment the Rye isn't used at all. It's hardly used at all. So as soon as you use it for anything, there of course will be a little bit more noise. But essentially, this is a training facility for children.
Yeah.
It isn't a commercial facility that's suitable for commercial and competitive matches.
Ruth, the village green isn't used at the moment.
Well, can I just say on that last point?
Please do.
He said it's going to be for children. So why were they insistent on 253 lux for their lighting? The brightness levels, which I understand means that Luton Conference League, if you're in the Luton Conference League, you could play on this green, and normally the lux for training would be 75.
What's the word?
Like to
Ruth, what's the word you're saying there? Luck?
Lux.
What does that mean?
It's the lighting levels.
OK, right. Paul, answer that question.
Well, I understand that the lighting was a condition that was on the planning application, and there's currently a review of what is the actual lighting level needed. And we're not interested in having it too bright and lighting up the sky and having to pay the electricity for that. We just want whatever is the right level of
Luton Conference could play there, Paul. Is that going to happen?
I don't think that's likely on a pitch 50 by 30. It's not going to be happening as a competitive ground. And if the lighting level was wrong, as I said, the lighting was a condition of planning to actually have a report and get the right level, not one that's too bright or not bright enough.
Paul, is it just going to be kids? Because listen, I'd imagine if I lived near there, kids, I can kind of understand, but I wouldn't want a load of blokes in their 20s and 30s effing and jeffing and you know, all that kind of stuff. Will there be adults playing there as well?
To some extent, there could be adults playing there, but primarily this is EB Lions, and we only have teams up to 18 years old.
Ruth? It's just kids.
Can I just say that you have made it quite clear that you want to develop an adult club, and we have absolutely no... we don't disagree with you doing an adult club or doing this for children. It is in the wrong place, Paul.
Paul?
I don't know what Ruth's referring to in terms of building an adult club. We're a junior football club. We've got no interest in anything other than providing football to a high standard for the children of the village.
Have you read your actual own Astro report for the planning?
I'm sure he has, Ruth. I'm sure he has. He is saying, Paul is saying there categorically that it's a youth team. Does that not put your mind at ease slightly?
No, it doesn't, because we have read it very closely, and there are indications that they do want to have an adult football club.
But they've
got 28 teams at the moment, and those children, the definition of children is up to 18.
Up to 18, yes.
And they do what... And the other point that I would like to make is that at the moment there are no changing facilities. There's no sanitary ware on the village green, so do they intend to build a club to cater for this?
OK, that's an interesting one, Paul. There are no sanitary facilities, nowhere for people to get changed. Are you going to build a club?
That's not in our plans, and it's not within our remit. And we would love to have changing facilities and toilet facilities. Currently, we use this site for competitive matches on the grass pitch, and we have girls playing there that travel from Bedford, and we don't have toilet facilities. But that's acceptable. That happens all around the county for children's football. It's not essential.
So, Ruth, there we go. Another thing. Paul's doing excellently at putting your mind at ease, surely. They're not going to be building a clubhouse there.
Well, according to FA Cup guidelines, you can't have these matches without sanitary facilities. And as I live right opposite the green, I would tell you I have seen a number of people using toilet facilities in the hedge.
Would you, Ruth, would you be up... Maybe we can reach a compromise here. Would you be up, or any of the neighbours at all, for allowing the young people to perhaps use your toilet facilities?
No, I wouldn't, thank you.
Could we negotiate some sort of fee or something?
I don't think so.
OK. Well, Paul, listen, thank you very much for putting your case. I don't think we're ever going to agree on this, but Paul Marshall, chairman of Eton Bray Lions, thank you very much for that. And the last voice you heard there was Ruth Archer, who is from the Friends of the Green. People get very passionate about this. I'm reminded of the Kinks song, We Are the Village Green Preservation Society. And people do get very passionate. I thought you both put yourself forward with aplomb and with dignity. Ruth and Paul, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. The thing I remember about playing football as a kid, I didn't do it very much because I hated football and I was no good at it. But you just got changed in the back of the car, didn't you? You got changed in the back. I remember going home completely covered in mud and getting changed in the back of the car or behind the boot and being embarrassed and hating it, being 13 years old, and it was horrible and awkward, and you got bits and pieces and stuff like that, and you just did it. Get on with it. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. 81333. Start your text 3CR. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can go and see the picture of the knob that I broke on there and other bits and pieces. Morning, dear listener. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, live on the radio. I just have to say that because my next guest, he's going, it's not live, is it? I said, yeah, no, it's live. No, it's pre-recorded. No, it's live. It's happening now. An 81-year-old woman from Bletchley is suing B&Q for unfair dismissal. They wanted her to work more flexible hours. She said it disrupted her social life. Well, she's in the studio now. She's amazed this is going out live. We'll be talking to Irene in a few minutes. Where is the worst place in the three counties for disabled access? We find out why one government building in Luton is causing people lots of problems. And a new musical version of War of the Worlds goes on tour this week. The man behind it is Jeff Wayne. He's from Hertfordshire, and he'll be on the show in around half an hour's time. And he's always a pleasure to talk to. If you want to get in touch, you can go to facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can see a picture of our next guest. You can text 81333, starting your text 3CR, or you can give us a call, 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, no swearing, you.
Would I?
No.
Would I?
Don't. You're going to be trouble this morning.
Never. No,
You've come in. I can see why they got rid of you. You came in. You've knocked the studio flying. You've kicked the microphones all over the place. It is live, Irene. We're on the air now. There are people listening. So don't be nervous. It's a piece of cake. It's just us having a chat.
You've been looking after me. I've had a nice cup of coffee and a friendly visit. Nice receptionist.
That's Kelly Betts, our receptionist. Yeah,
she's lovely.
She does a good job.
And I've met a nice lady called Iain, who's your next person. We had a lovely long chat.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good for you. Now, listen, let me set the story up, because there are some people who've just tuned in, have got no idea who you are. So let me explain, although they will know, because you're a bit of a superstar now. 81-year-old woman from Bletchley is suing DIY store B&Q for unfair dismissal. Irene Mullinger. Is it Irene or Irene? Which one?
Irene,
I thought so. Had worked for the company for nearly 25 years and had wanted to carry on. However, when they wanted her to work flexible hours, she said it would disrupt her social life. You're in the studio now. Are you sure you're 81? I don't want to start flirting, but you look a little bit younger than that.
Well, thank you very much. No, I was born in 1931.
Wow. That's a long time ago.
You know what's kept me young? It's working with all the staff in B&Q. They've been fantastic.
So when did you start there? 25 years ago?
Yeah, 1988.
I was 15 years old then. Can you believe it?
Good Lord.
I was a boy.
Yeah.
What, and you've worked there for so long. What do you get from it? Why is it so special and important to you?
Well, the money comes in handy, obviously.
Nice, of course.
Nobody works for love, but I've enjoyed the company and the companionship of the girls I've worked with.
Yeah.
Lovely management, and the customers have been fantastic as well.
Yeah.
And, one thing leads to another. I've been round to customers' houses and made friends with them. And
you've been round to customers' houses? How did that happen?
Well, as they were regular customers, they popped in and we chatted about this and that, and the people that loved their gardens.
Yeah.
I like gardening, and we talked about gardens, and I'd say, well, bring in a photograph, and they'd say, well, come round and have a cup of tea, which was nice.
Fantastic. So you don't get that anywhere else? Staff popping around for a cup of tea and having a little look at the garden, do you?
Well, I don't know. It's just nice to meet friendly people.
Irene, what did you do before you worked there?
I worked in the civil service for about 32 years.
Right. So working has always been important to you, and it's an integral part of what you do.
Oh, yes.
And you say you obviously you got a few quid for working at B&Q, but it was also the kind of social side of it as well that was important.
Yeah.
Do you think it's kind of kept you sane a bit? Because you do sometimes, you hear stories, don't you, of older people, when they retire, they're working really, really active, and when they retire and suddenly they've got all this time on their hands, they start losing it a bit, don't they?
Yeah, well, that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
They probably think they've got plenty of time. They don't get up too late. They watch television. They just sit around. And it's very important to keep active.
Yeah.
You have to do walks and get out in the fresh air and meet people.
But at 81, Irene, don't you just think, oh, stuff it, I'm going to stay at home now, I'm going to watch Cash in the Attic, Pointless, and I'm just going to relax a bit?
No.
Really?
I mean, I don't have to pay for a television licence, but unfortunately I don't have a lot of time to sit and watch it either.
So let's go back to the B&Q. Why have you had to leave there? What happened?
Well, the management are insisting that because the hours of the store are 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. of an evening, obviously they need staff to cover those hours.
Yeah.
And I was asked, could I do flexible time?
Yeah.
And I said no. For 67 years I've worked on fixed hours, and I've got a life around work, not the other way round.
So your boss said, can you work some slightly different hours? And you went, no.
Well...
Because you... No, I'm not trying to trick you or anything, because... I tell you why, because surely if... You have to do the hours your boss says, don't you? If my boss said, Ian, listen, it's not working you doing 6 till 9, we're going to move you to 3 till 6 in the evening, I would be disappointed, but I'd have to do it. And you kind of do have to do the hours your boss says, don't you?
But you had to work... I only worked 4 hours a day, and you had to be flexible.
Right.
Sometimes you could start 7 a.m. in the morning, which meant my getting up at 5 o'clock,
right.
Or you could finish at 9 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Now, from one month to the next, you didn't know what your rotas were going to be.
Tough.
And...
Tough. I've got to say, because but it's I'm being, my tongue is in my cheek, Irene. Don't worry, I'm not going to have a go at you. But that's a job, isn't it? That's what you have to do in a job sometimes. Is you have to you can't plan your job around your social life, can you? And it sounds like that's what you wanted to do.
That's right. Well, when I first...
You can't do that.
When I first went to B&Q, the job was offered afternoons, 24 hours a week as a checkout operator.
Yeah.
So I went and worked afternoons on a regular basis, and of course I was able to do housework and other stuff in the mornings. Well, then the manager said, someone's leaving. That was about 2 or 3 years later. Would I like to change to mornings? Well, this was terrific.
Fantastic.
Because you went to work in the morning, you came home in the afternoon, you got your lunch, did your housework, gardening, and went out to meet friends. And then for all those years, I have had those set hours, which meant I could, do what I wanted.
Yeah.
But now to change and work Saturdays and Sundays, which is something I don't do, it meant that I would have to say to my supervisor, is it all right if I make plans for the weekend following or something, because I wouldn't know what my rotas were going to be.
Okay. How convinced are you going to win this case? Are you going to win? What? Your mouth? Look, you can't mouth something to me. You can't mouth it to me. We're on the radio, Irene. Are you confident?
Oh, very.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate your time. I like your owl brooch, by the way.
Oh, it's a beautiful brooch.
Nice brooch, doesn't it?
One of my B&Q colleagues bought that for me.
Thank you very much for coming in. That wasn't too hard, was it? You see? No. Just something you can breathe again now.
Thank you.
Just us having a chat, that's all it is. Thank you very much. 08459 455 555. If you wait there, Irene, then they see that young gentleman there. He's called Ollie. He's on work experience. He does whatever hours I tell him to do. He's not going to take me to court. He will come and escort you in a second and make sure that you're okay. And he'll get you a nice cup of tea as well if you fancy one as well.
Oh, I don't think I could have any more.
Did you come up the M1?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've got a lovely neighbour next door.
Right.
And she's on computer things, and she got me Google.
Oh, yeah.
So I came, and I've got the pictures from my house, Link House, to this house, Ludwig... No, what's the house called?
I've got no idea where we are, but yes.
But she printed it all out for me.
Right, yeah.
And
on
then
the Google.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. There you got that. Oh, look at that. It's
Look, it's all laid out. That's my house.
Okay,
and Cuff Lane.
Oh, right, we don't give away too many details. We don't want people coming around to your house. Yeah, okay.
And Cuff Lane.
Yeah, okay.
And this is the pictures of how to get here.
Well, there you go, you see.
See, I couldn't get lost, could I?
You couldn't get lost, even if you tried. Thank you so much for coming in, Irene.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. There we go. That's Irene Mullinger. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. We have got a statement from B&Q that I have to read out for legal reasons. And they say, as this is a legal case, we can't comment in detail. However, we can say this has nothing to do with age. B&Q has always valued the diversity of its workforce. Almost 30% of our 33,000 employees are over 50 years old, and our oldest employee is 89 years old. We do not consider the age of staff when organising rotas. We consider having people in the right place at the right time to serve our customers when they need us most. Can I ask, Irene, do you listen to BBC Three Counties? Do you know Jonathan Vernon Smith at all?
Sadly, no. I haven't.
You've not heard him. Well, you say sadly. There's not really missing.
No. Well, the thing is, on my radio, it's fixed to BBC Two, and I don't mess about with the channels.
Well, Jonathan Vernon Smith is... I say he's a presenter. I use that word very loosely, but he's the gentleman that comes on and does the show after me. He's hit and miss, I think, is the polite way of describing it. He's going to come in a second. You'll get to say, Jonathan, come in and say hello to Irene. He's going to come in now and say hello to you. He's a very nice chap.
You know what's going to happen? Obviously, I'm going to listen.
You're going to listen to you. This is Jonathan. This is Irene.
Hello, nice to meet you.
She doesn't know who you are, so don't get too carried away. She listens to Radio 2.
So do I. When you're on.
But what, he looks good, doesn't he? He's a nice-looking lad.
I tell you what, you've never smoked in your life, have you? You've got such beautiful white teeth.
Thank you very much, you see. She's talking to me. What about Jonathan's teeth?
He's got a nice smiley face,
He's got a lovely smiley face. He's very, very grumpy, though, Jonathan.
No, I don't believe it.
He looks like a cuddly bear. He's not had a shave all weekend. Look at him.
No, it's true, I've not had a shave. I've had a real weekend of it, Irene, I'll tell you.
Tell Irene about your bathroom.
Oh, I had a leak under my bath, Irene. It was water going everywhere. I put kettles of water down there. Terrible.
Good Lord.
What would you put down a bath if it got blocked?
I'd call a plumber.
Yeah,
would you?
I would call a plumber. Yeah. He was whinging like a big girl's blouse all on the internet.
I mean, I can house decorate. Yes. I love wallpapering.
Oh, don't we all?
I really enjoy doing that. Yeah. But plumbing?
No.
Expert, honey.
With a plunger?
No, I'd call the expert.
Would you? 2 o'clock in the morning, Irene, it was.
Oh, well, yeah. Shut the door and think about it the next day.
That's called life experience, Irene.
Irene, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you so much. We shall... I've got to do a radio show. I do apologise. Let's go and get...
Enjoy.
Thank you. Yeah, we're still... No, Irene, don't worry. Irene's still here having a chat with Jonathan Vernon Smith. But you've got a new car, haven't you, Irene?
I have.
You've gone from your Audi to a little Kia. But you're struggling to know how big the Kia is. You keep... It's a bit shorter than you imagine.
I know, but I'm safe enough to put passengers in it now.
There we go, good. Again, I keep referring... I'm doing a radio show at the moment.
I'll help Irene.
Thank you very much. There we go.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, my love. Take care. There we go.
Put your arm in there.
Yes.
Go on.
Yeah.
Oh, too hot. Come on, then. Let's show you out.
Bye-bye, my love. Yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'll do this now, shall I?
It's not funny. It was awful.
Are you allowed to talk about this on air?
What, the fact that I nearly killed my neighbour downstairs?
Yes, that fact.
Well, OK, so I went out to see Skyfall on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I got back quite late, about midnight.
Do you normally fall asleep in the cinema?
Always. I can never see films all the way through.
You stayed awake for Skyfall, so that's...
It's my dad's got it. It's called sleepy sickness. It's like a form of... is it called narcolepsy?
It's called sleepy sickness?
That's what my dad calls it. My dad can't watch any television programme more than 5 minutes.
And he falls asleep?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Fantastic.
And I'm getting it with films,
right,
you see.
Okay, sleepy sickness.
Yeah, so anyway,
Is he a doctor, your dad?
No.
Okay, right, okay.
So I got back and there was all this gunge in the bath.
Yeah.
Well, my bath's connected to the washing machine. I'd left the washing machine on while I went.
Your bath is connected to the washing machine?
Yeah, the same waste pipe. It goes through the wall.
Okay.
You see, it's terrible.
That doesn't sound right.
Oh, this is not good. So I had a shower. The water was going nowhere.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, this is terrible. My bath's all blocked up. It's now almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So I went and I've got this special stuff with skull and crossbones on the front.
I feel like I'm living this in real time, but yeah, go on. Yes.
It's like a drain clearer. So I poured that down, nothing.
No.
So I went and got my plunger, and I'm plunging away, and all of a sudden, it went, and all the water drained. I thought, oh, that's good.
Wonderful.
Till I realised all I'd done is I'd popped off the waste pipe and acid was flooding down into Kathleen's flat downstairs.
Has anyone heard from Kathleen since the weekend?
Yeah, don't worry, I've spoken to her.
She's okay.
It's all sorted.
Fantastic. What's on your show this morning, Jonathan?
Well, I'm picking up, of course, on your conversation with Irene, because it was lovely. And I'm asking at 9 this morning, should older people be given special treatment in the workplace? An 81-year-old woman from Milton Keynes is suing her former employer for unfair dismissal after they asked her to work different shifts that she thought were unsuitable for her age, and as Irene was telling you, didn't really fit in with their social life.
Yeah.
Well, in the statement that B&Q gave, they said they don't consider the age of staff when organising rotas. They do it in a way that treats everyone equally. But is that a bit unfair? You know, somebody like Irene, an older member of staff, don't they bring with them huge amounts of life experience? They bring different qualities to younger members of staff. And is it actually quite important that companies make those special exceptions for the older workers?
What was nice, she said she's been round to customers' houses for a cup of tea and to look at their gardens.
Yes.
Where would you wouldn't get that anywhere else.
No, exactly. So if you have an older member of staff, they bring different things to the workplace. Yep. And is it not really important that employers do bend the rules for their older workers?
Well, Roberto Peroni.
They do make special exceptions for their older workers, because they recognise that, OK, at 81 they don't want to be working at midnight, but they bring other things instead. I want your views from 9. Should older people be given special treatment in the workplace, or perhaps you think the whole thing's outrageous, and if they're too old to do different shifts, boot them out? I want your view at 9.
Thank you very much. That came from nowhere, that sudden burst. Thank you very much.
True. Perhaps.
See you later on. Ta-ta.
Bye-bye.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. And if you want to get in touch with the JVS show, you can do. It's JVS show at bbc.co.uk. JVS show at bbc.co.uk. Another way to get in touch, of course, is to go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. And Jonathan will post up what he's talking about there, so you can have a little say on the Facebook page. And you can also... Facebook is great for arguing with other people as well. So if someone's posted something on there you disagree with, you can have a little argument on there as well. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Now, the government says it's looking at alternative sites to locate fitness for work assessments in Luton. It's emerged that the current building where they take place, it doesn't have disabled access. Across the country, around a quarter of the ATOS centres don't have proper access, and it's causing a backlog for people trying to get benefits. Eileen Carroll has had first-hand experience of being refused access. She's in the studio with us now. Good morning, Eileen. How are you this morning? You all right?
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming in. Tell us about what happened to you when you were assessed for your benefits.
I wasn't assessed. I was sent an appointment to be assessed.
Yep.
And I turned up at Cresta House, and I was told that I couldn't be assessed because I was a liability.
I'm smiling just because it's so incredible. How did you feel when they told you that?
First of all, I was stunned.
Yeah,
I was absolutely stunned, because in order to get to that appointment, I'd had to make several arrangements, including my husband taking time off work.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely stunned. I couldn't believe that outside the sign said Medical Assessment Centre. And I was being told I was a liability.
Why? You're in a wheelchair. Is that the reason that you're a liability?
But I wasn't told that at the time.
Right.
I was simply told I was a liability, and I would have to have a home visit, a home assessment. And that wasn't up for negotiation. I was told you'll have to have a home visit.
I'm scratching my mum's in a wheelchair, so I'm aware of how difficult it can be. For people in wheelchairs to get around, even if they've got help. And I'm just wondering how I would react if someone came down and said that to my mum.
Well, I then asked, why am I a liability?
Yeah.
I'm only passing on a message. I'm just the messenger.
Right.
That's what I was told. With contempt. It was the whole attitude.
When you made the appointment, did they at any point ask if you were in a wheelchair or
I didn't. You don't make an appointment. You fill in a form.
Right.
you fill in a form, and on the form there are lots of questions. There's a mobility section, and there are lots of questions around mobility, but there isn't a specific question. They don't actually ask the question,
are
do
you in a
use
wheelchair?
A wheelchair?
Right.
You would think they would do that, but they don't do that.
They stopped your benefits?
They did, eventually.
Why was that?
Well, I went to the Disability Resource Centre on my way back, and I said, look, this has just happened to me, and I don't fully understand why, and I wasn't given a full explanation as to why. So then Mick Dillon...
who we're about to speak to in a second, we've got him on the line.
Yeah, looked into it, and I also went to Kelvin Hopkins, and he was dealing with it. And from there, we discovered, to cut a long story short, that Cresta House on the 6th floor. As you go into Cresta House, of course, there's disabled access. There's the logo. There's a ramp. But when you get up to the 6th floor, if there is an emergency, they can't evacuate you from the 6th floor. That's what we discovered.
If you put these headphones on, you can just put those on, because we've got Mick Dillon is on the line. Mick is from the Disability Resource Centre in Dunstable. Morning, Mick.
Morning, Ian.
I want to laugh because this is just so incredible.
I know.
But you hear stories like this, and how many stories like this are you getting, Mick?
Well, you can't make it up. There have been a number in the Luton Dunstable area, because it serves the whole area. And there'll be more coming up. That's the reality with all the change in universal credits and DLA from April onwards.
Because we've been hearing this morning that home visits can be laid on and other facilities can be laid on, but it would seem in a case like Eileen's that was never made clear until she turned up.
Well, I think that there's a whole number of things here. One is about anyone understanding the needs of disabled people, so access needs, but also how you treat people. That doesn't cost money, of course, and certainly we're working in dialogue with Atos, trying to get some awareness of what these needs really are, and I think we're trying to be grown up about the whole situation.
What have Atos? You've been speaking to Atos, Mick. What have they been saying to you? What's their response?
Well, to be fair to them, and there's always two sides to every equation. A lot of buildings they've got are not suitable. Now that's one discussion going back a number of years, and the lack of understanding why you can't use certain buildings. But the reality is that at least they're now recognising that, and the challenge there is what they can do about it. And of course, let's get cracking, let's get something sorted, and make sure that people who are being judged, and there's a whole issue about its medical judgment.
Yeah.
How is anybody being judged, and how you're being treated? If you think of Luton, you can't park easily. Alma Street is a very slow site anyway. Access to Crest House isn't fantastic. There's a quirky little ramp on the left-hand side, and you go into the lifts. And it's not a building of choice that most people would like to go to.
Eileen, as a wheelchair user, what kind of changes would you like to see made in terms of access?
Well, to begin with, I would like to be able to access the same buildings that other people that are going for assessment access. I was offered to be assessed elsewhere, and that would have meant I was sent a map, which meant I would have to get 3 buses in order to get to the various places that they were offering me to be assessed. That shouldn't be. And the reason that Atos can get around it is because of the Equalities Act 2010, where they have to offer a reasonable alternative.
Right.
But, is that actually reasonable? Is that reasonable for me? I feel I should have the same access that everybody else has.
Mick, very quickly, because we're running out of time, it's 2012. I kind of thought that we'd have had all of these things sorted by now. It's obvious, isn't it, that places like this, that there are going to be people who have different needs, that it should be accessible to everyone.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, if you look at our building here, we invested in our building by 2004 when the Act changed. Even as a charity, you've got to invest in your buildings because it's, a resource and an asset and a liability. You can't hide behind legislation, but the trouble with the Equality Act and the DDA before it is that it has a word reasonable that Nick Scarlett was talking about.
Reasonable, yes, that vague.
And that's a judgment, and if you ask a judge what's reasonable, or any man in the street or person in the street, that's the issue. And disability discrimination and law has a bit of a get-out clause of reasonableness. Sometimes that's used to say, well, we can't afford it. Well, how much does it cost? Well, we don't know. Well, you haven't done the exercise. the key thing is look about what you provide and how you provide it to customers. And, the spending power of disabled people is something like £80 billion. Whether that's earnings or benefits, you're still a consumer.
Mick, listen, we have to end it there. Sorry to cut you short. Mick Dillon from the Disability Resource Centre in Dunstable. Eileen Carroll, thank you very much for coming in this morning. We have got a statement. We invited the Department for Work and Pensions to come on. They said no. They said where an assessment centre isn't on the ground floor, as is in the case with Luton, we endeavour to make this clear to people before they arrive for their appointment. We are looking... You're shaking your head, I know. We are looking at alternatives to the centre in Luton, and the company who run the centre, Atos, have sent us this statement. We let people know about access prior to scheduling appointments to try to ensure no one goes to a centre that isn't appropriate for them. Thank you very much for coming in. A little bit later than usual, but I just thought that was well worth pursuing because it was so interesting. At nearly 8:32, let's get the latest news and sport with Catherine Boyle.
Paul Buckle's team will be joined in the draw by Chesham, Boreham Wood or Bromley and Oxford City.
And.
No, it's important.
No.
It's and Oxford City or Bishop Stortford.
Okay.
Thank
right.
you. Hang on, one more.
Oh.
In ice hockey, Milton Keynes Lightning lost 4-2 at Bracknell last night. OK, Iain Lee, your turn.
Really?
Go.
This is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 26 minutes to 9. Jonathan Vernon-Smith is on at 9 o'clock. In the next 25 minutes or so of this show, you may have heard our special programme from Flamstead on Friday. Well, I found a brand new Strictly Come Dancing reviewer. He's called Angus. He's 8. We'll be speaking to him in a few minutes. And a number of flood warnings are in place in Buckinghamshire and Bedfordshire. Our reporter Justin Dealey has been in Olney, finding out how it's affecting homeowners there.
On FM, AM and online. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh yeah, and Jeff Wayne coming up on the show. I love Jeff Wayne. He's so enthusiastic. He's been doing this for like years and years and years. Okay, for years, pretty much forever. And quite often you interview people who've been doing music and that kind of stuff for a long time, and they're so jaded and so miserable and so... Not Jeff Wayne. Oh, it's like it's day one. It's like he's won a competition. He's always so enthusiastic. Now, did you watch Strictly Come Dancing this weekend? I didn't, because I have a life. I don't need to watch it, because we have young people out there who do watch it for us. Oh, I've just skipped the music. We all know the theme goes. We've got Angus on the line. Good morning, Angus.
Good morning.
Now, Angus, we met on Friday in a pub in Flamstead.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and have you had a good weekend since then?
I've had a good weekend, thank you.
Tell me what happened over the weekend, Angus. Let's get a little bit of colour about you. What did you do this weekend that was so cool?
Not much. We just stayed around at home and went to the park. And
that's not bad. Hey, I've just discovered, right, you probably know this because you're a young man, I've just discovered those websites where you pay like a few pounds a month and then you can watch films like on your Xbox and your phone and stuff.
Yep.
They're amazing. Why has no one told me about them before?
I don't know.
So this weekend, I didn't actually watch any films this weekend. It took me all weekend to set it up on my phone and my Xbox. But boy, I'm ready to watch, I don't know. What's your favourite Woody Allen film, Angus? Manhattan Murder Mystery?
I don't really know.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to tread carefully with Woody Allen. A lot of his more recent stuff is rubbish. Anyway, let's get to the important thing here. Strictly Come Dancing. Did you watch it this weekend?
Yes, I did.
What did you make of it? Any good?
Yeah, it was good. Some bad dancers, but...
Oh, who are the bad dancers?
I didn't like Louis and Flavia.
Oh, now, Flavia is the only dancer I know because I like her hair. I think she's got very nice hair. What was wrong? And she danced with someone called Louis?
Yeah.
Who is Louis? What does he do?
I think he's a gymnast.
He's a gymnast, okay. And what kind of dance were they doing?
They did a slow one, but with not many left.
Oh, I hate the slow dances. Why would you do a slow dance? You want to do a fast one?
I don't know.
Did they get booted out then?
No. We didn't.
Who went this week?
Victoria and Brendan went.
Now Victoria, I know Victoria. She is the cycling lady, isn't she? Victoria Pendleton.
Yes, she is.
And Brendan is the charmer, who I've met Brendan a couple of times, and he's a very charming man. They went, did they?
Yes, they went.
Was she not very good? Because she was, of course, the Olympic golden girl, but not so hot on the dance floor.
No, I think she shouldn't have gone. My brother, Edward, voted for her, but it obviously didn't pay off.
Edward voted to save her?
Yeah.
Did he actually make the phone call?
Yep.
Whoa, is Edward there?
Yes, he's there.
Angus, let me have a word with Edward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Edward.
Thank you, Angus.
You're on.
Edward, you're on.
Hello.
Hey, Edward, how are you?
Fine.
And how old are you, Edward?
5.
And when's your birthday?
October the 15th.
Oh, so you're still quite new 5 then? You've not been 5 for very long?
No.
Which did you prefer, being 4 or being 5?
5.
What's so good about being 5?
You're older than 4.
You got it. That's the kind of science I like. Now, you voted for Victoria Pendleton, did you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I really liked it.
What was so special about her dance?
Well, I've got a couple of things about it.
Yeah?
I liked Victoria's dress and I liked their song.
You like... What song did they do?
Well, it was called Candy.
Is that the Robbie Williams song?
I don't know.
Oh, OK. Robbie Williams has got a song out called Candy, and it really is very, very catchy. She got a hurricane in the back of her throat. Yes, sorry.
And I like Danny Harmer's dance.
That's Tracy Beaker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was good. Who... OK, Edward, this is the question. Who didn't you like? Who was rubbish?
Mum.
What was the name of the rubbish one, Mum?
Victoria and Brendan.
No, you liked Victoria and Brendan.
No, I didn't.
Hang on a minute. Has my head just been sucked into a time warp? I thought you tried to save Victoria.
The one more.
Talk to him.
It's all kicking off. Edward, listen, Edward, basically, we're not sure who you liked and who you didn't like, but you enjoyed the programme, is that correct?
Yeah.
Edward, thank you very much. What have you got in school today, Edward? Anything exciting?
No.
Excellent stuff. Can we speak to you again in a few weeks?
Yeah.
Edward, thank you very much. Say goodbye to Angus and say goodbye to Mum for me.
Bye.
Bye-bye, nice to talk to you. Fantastic. Edward, he's 5. Angus is 8. If you've got some kids under the age of 10, please. They were cracking, weren't they? Well done, boys. Good work. Good work. It can be. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. Of course it's nerve-wracking. You're on BBC Three Counties Radio talking to that bloke who used to be on the telly. Of course it's nerve-wracking. I thought they did a cracking job. Angus, Edward and Mum, thank you very much indeed. If you've got some kids, 10 and under, who you think would be cracking Strictly Come Dancing reviewers, boys or girls, could you send an email, 3CR... at bbc.co.uk. 3CR at bbc.co.uk. Just put in the subject Iain Lee, Strictly Come Dancing, and just tell us a little bit about them, the age, where they live, that kind of stuff, so we get a little bit of a flavour of what they're going to be like. Superb. Right, floods. Heavy rain that's brought flooding to many parts of the country is expected to continue today. There are around 250 flood warnings and close to 300 flood alerts in England and Wales. Now, one of the areas with a flood warning is only in Buckinghamshire. We sent our reporter Justin Dealey in his galoshes there this morning, and he's been speaking to residents in Midland Road and Church Street.
So, Neil, there has been a flood warning issued for your road, but you're not concerned in the slightest, are you?
Not in particular, no, because this has happened a couple of times before and nothing has come of it.
So you haven't got the sandbags out or anything like that at all? No precautions in place?
No, but we know where to get the sandbags from.
And where would that be?
Milton Keynes Council.
Well, Sue, we're standing on Midland Road. Again, there is a warning in place for your road. You received a phone call last night. What happened last night?
It was just a phone call just gone midnight saying that there was a flood alert in the area and for us to look on the local websites.
Mind you, looking around here today, everything looks pretty normal to me.
There's no water at all.
Because some people are saying these warnings are wrong because they're scaring people like yourself.
Yeah, I think we've lived here for 5 years and we've never had any water come anywhere near our property, so touch wood, I feel okay.
I mean, you bought this property knowing there could be flooding issues here. What's the situation with insurance? Are you paying way over the odds because there could be flooding here?
No, not at all. As soon as I gave them the postcode, according to the insurance company, we weren't at greater risk than anywhere else. But we are on the edge of a floodplain.
Madam, there's a flood warning in place for your road. Are you taking any precautions whatsoever?
Not at the moment, no.
Have you also received phone calls telling you there is a flood warning in place?
We haven't at this end of the street, but you may find people closer to the river may have got some flood warning issues, yeah.
And the issue is what's over the back of your house. Tell us what's over the back.
We've got 5 fields surrounding the river behind us, so a couple of them are flooded at the moment.
But it's never actually come towards your home, it's always remained in that field?
As far as I'm aware, certainly since the past 4 years we've been here, we haven't had the flood come to our garden.
Do sandbags work? I don't think sandbags actually do work, do they? Because it's like sand in a bag. Water can get through that, can't it? We've had this discussion before. What we need is someone to invent, and I will take 15% of anybody who comes up with the idea. We need to invent something that's better than sandbags. I don't know, walls? And what bricks would be better than a sandbag, wouldn't it? Because water doesn't go through bricks. Maybe I'm being far too simplistic about this. I have no idea whatsoever. 08459 455 555. We're putting out the eternal plea. Can someone come up with a suggestion for something that's better than a sandbag?
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Although, to be honest, I'm only here until 9 o'clock. Your best bet is to stick around and wait for a little bit of Jonathan Vernon-Smith, who's on at 9. If you want to get in touch with Jonathan, he's picking up our topic of Irene, the 81-year-old who's been let go from B&Q. She is claiming unfair dismissal because of her age, and he's asking, should older people be allowed to work? If you want to start getting in touch with Jonathan, send him an email. Let's get the weather with Elizabeth Rossini. Or maybe we won't. Elizabeth Rossini is not standing at her post, armed and ready to tell us what's going on in the world of weather. One can only hope that Ms Rossini is alive and well and that nothing has happened at the weather centre, although it is possible that a coup has been staged. We may not find out. Let's try this now. Elizabeth, are you alive and well and safe? Elizabeth? This is terrifying. This is terrifying. We have no idea where she is. We've lost the weather. That's it, I'm afraid. We have literally lost the weather. Today, no weather. Oh, hang on a minute. Are you there now?
Yeah.
Oh, where were you? What are you lot up to there? Oh, I've been here the whole time. What have you lot been up to at the weather centre, Elizabeth?
Well, it's all fun and games here at the weather centre at the moment. You understand, but not so much for the Three Counties today.
Okay, well, listen. Put your cocktail down and carry on with the weather report. Well, you have to do it a cappella, I'm afraid.
My music. Oh no,
there isn't. The music's gone.
A cappella, no.
Okay, yes. I thought they meant you. Anyway, carry on. Yeah.
Here we go. An improving.
I found you some music, Elizabeth. I've got you some music.
Oh, really? You are naughty. Look, by midweek onwards, it's going to be drier, and it will also be colder as well. What's this?
It's the only CD I could find. I don't know what it is, but it's good, huh? It's country.
Yeah.
Oh, he's singing, though. Sorry, he's singing.
Yeah.
Carry on.
No, it sounds pretty good. Well, that's it, really.
Oh.
Unless you want me to talk for longer.
No, that'll do. Thanks very much.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
I don't know what that music was, but I was enjoying it. I do like a little bit of country. I have a soft spot for country music. Always a big fan of that. Right, lots to cram in the last 10 minutes, so eyes down for a full house. It's estimated there could be around 70,000 older people in the Three Counties in need of extra help this winter to stay warm. The government's giving councils in Beds, Herts and Bucks close to £1 million in total to help the elderly stay safe and well during the cold months. But it's not just the elderly who are at risk. David is 34 and he's from Netherfield, one of the most deprived areas of Milton Keynes.
I've got bipolar. I've been on the sick now for a number of years, and they sent me for a medical a little while ago, basically saying that I was fit for work. My doctor disagrees, so the process now is basically I've been waiting 9 months. I've been surviving on £80 a fortnight. That's gas, electric and food. I haven't been able to put gas on for the last 9 months. While it's all been sorted out, I can put my electric on. I can barely eat. I've been forced, well, not forced, because we all make our own decisions in life, but I've been forced to shoplift, which in turn's got me banned from shops and stuff like that. Yeah, things aren't good at the moment, really.
Well, joined on the line now by Richard Dixon from Buckinghamshire Community Foundation, which runs the Big Heat Fund. Morning, Richard.
Yeah, good morning.
How does the Big Heat Fund work?
Well, it's a really simple idea. We're saying to people who want to support people in their local community who are struggling with fuel poverty to put money into the Big Heat Fund, particularly if they're getting one of those winter fuel payments that they think is something of a luxury, and they'd like to give it to help people who are really struggling through the winter to stay warm and healthy.
How much money are you hoping to raise and having your bank, as it were?
Exactly. We're hoping to raise this year about £60,000, and the good news is part of that government money that's given to us actually matches pound for pound money that people donate to us.
And who is going to benefit from it?
Well, we then give the money in December to groups that work with vulnerable families struggling with fuel poverty. In Buckinghamshire, we've got 10,000 people, 10,000 households who are struggling with fuel poverty, paying more than 10% of their income to pay their fuel bills. So we will give it to local community groups who work with them, which could include the Citizens Advice Bureau, children's centres, lunch clubs running in local communities throughout the county.
Do you think that changes need to be made to the winter fuel payment? 'Cause it's always struck me as odd that some people, older people, get this payment when some of them don't need it.
That's certainly the feedback we get from people who donate to our big heat fund, which is part of the Surviving Winter Appeal nationally. That they say they'd love to give it back. They don't understand why they get it. It's not means tested in any way at all. So what we do is just provide a way in which they can give to the fund, and we can distribute that money to groups who work with vulnerable people who are really struggling with fuel poverty.
Richard Dixon, thank you very much.
On FM, AM and online. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Will be much colder. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. No, you're not here. This is good, huh? I don't know what the words. I don't know what the words are, but I know the song. Of course you do. Love this. I love it. Very excited. A new musical version of War of the Worlds goes on tour this week. To mark the tour, a new album is out, featuring the artists like Josh Stone and Gary Barlow. Have a listen. Have a listen. Here we go. Now you're not here. Now you're not. There we go. Exactly. I'm still gutted that Jeff Wayne declined to let me sing on his record, and but despite that, I've let him come on my radio show again. Good morning, Jeff.
Ian, good morning.
Are you sure it's not too late for me to come and maybe I could come and do one of the live shows with you or something?
Well, Ian, I think we've got our diaries crossed because this is the new generation recording, and I've got you down in my diary for the last generation.
Oh, man, well, when's that? We've got another 50 years or something to go for that.
34 years. Put it in your diary.
Man, I'm there, definitely. Jeff, it's always a pleasure. I was saying earlier on about this. How long have you been in this business for? It feels like forever.
It does to me, too.
How do you keep so enthusiastic? Because I've interviewed people who've been doing it even longer than you, or less time than you, and sometimes they're so grumpy and they don't want to talk about something they did 30 years ago. But you always, I've spoken to you a couple of times, you always seem so enthusiastic about this.
Well, I think the truth is, Ian, that between its original release when I did it and came out in 1978, and until we started touring it in all the arenas in 2006, I hardly had returned to it, so I was working with other artists, scoring music to TV and film, just doing everything but the War of the Worlds. But when I came back to it, it was so fresh to me.
Yeah.
And it reminded me how wonderful the story was. That's what I fell in love with, was this very dark Victorian tale that H.G. Wells created in 1897. And I revisited the original script I recorded with Richard Burton for the original recording, and I discovered how much didn't make it to the original album. There was at least as much that didn't make it as that did, and I think it was simply because it was the era of the black vinyl disc when you had just a finite amount of time. So I just rediscovered it and wanted to be sure that if I was to do it again, it would be under the basis that the story, my musical score, the production techniques, the complete artwork package would be reimagined with a fresh set of eyes and ears, and that's what we've done. We spent almost 2 years doing it.
Jeff, go back to 1978. What on earth were you thinking, man? Because it's the tail end of punk, New Wave is about to come in, and you go and release a concept album based on an H.G. Wells story.
Well, most people ask me the same question. That's the truth of it. But it was just back to the story, the fact that as a young composer and producer, I essentially had the opportunity to start with a blank canvas and to express myself as any artist would like to do. And I wasn't sure if I'd ever get another opportunity, so I just went for it.
You sunk a load of your money into it as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that's true. I had great backing from what was then CBS Records. It's now part of Sony. But it was for the first third, and in order to finish it or to complete the whole project, I did have to go into my life savings, which represented the remaining two-thirds.
And I mean, all these years later, I mean, and it is an amazing record, but the new version and the old version, they're fantastic. Are you surprised that it stood the test of time so well?
Well, if you had asked me before it was coming out, would I be talking to you 34 years later, not only about the original, but about this new generation recording, I would have laughed, because the truth of it is that I didn't even have a guarantee it would be released by the record company.
Wow.
They had to wait for it to be done, and they had a 30-day period to make a decision whether they liked it. And on the 30th day, I got a call. Can we have another 30 days? So, it was on a fine line between disappearing and actually being released. So, looking back now all these years, I think it clearly resonated musically as an incredible story. And, of course, we've been touring it since 2006 in many countries of the world, not just the UK, and the audiences have all been the same, so receptive and having a great night out.
Jeff, what can people expect on this tour?
Well, it's a reflection of the new generation recording, so the sound is very much in parallel. The story has been expanded. We have all new animation that runs with our 100-foot wide screen and runs in parallel to the live performance, but it's all the technology, and of course we have Liam Neeson, who's taken over this role of the journalist who had survived the Martian invasion from 6 years earlier, and he's recounting his story of survival. So on every level, the cast is entirely different. It's a new generation.
And finally, Jeff, very quick, he's going on a slight tangent. Joss Stone is on it. I like Joss Stone, and I worry about her, because I met her when she was 16, and she was this up-and-coming young thing, and then she had quite an unfair ride, I thought. Is Joss Stone okay?
Well, my experience with Joss and her mum, who's her manager, was one of the most pleasurable experiences I've had professionally. We've remained in touch.
Good.
And she's just a very free spirit, you know, and I think she's touring all the time. She's got the most incredible voice that you can imagine, so I was so fortunate to attract her onto the album, along with all the others, Gary Barlow, Ricky Wilson, Alex Clare, Maverick Sabre, and of course Liam Neeson on the album as well. So I just had another wonderful experience. But Joss is truly a great artist.
Jeff, listen, thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure and an honour to talk to you, sir. War of the Worlds, new record out, and a new tour. Definitely worth catching a look at that. All over the shop, my timing, so I can only apologise. Thank you very much for listening and taking part. Back tomorrow at 6. Do stick around, though. After the news with Catherine, it's Jonathan Vernon-Smith.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain.